What's up, guys? How's it going? MikeTheTech here, and we are taking a look at the new update in Bourbon 26. This is a pretty huge one, so stick around till the end because I'm going to show you some games running and some of the new features we brought to the latest update. So first off, easier than ever to get everything installed. Make sure you're up to date on the latest macOS, and then click on this big Bourbon button right here in the center, and it's going to do all of the updates for you. Even if it's already synced, you can press it again, and it's just going to go through and make sure everything's correct. If anything is corrupt or not downloaded or any components are missing, it's going to clean that up every time and get it working again. So very cool functionality off the bat. I'm proud of this one here. Now the next step is you go down to Stores. And in Stores, we're going to have Steam, which I'm going to go ahead and click on Open. We have Heroic Launcher, which means we have Epic, Good Old Games, and Amazon through there. And then we have native Epic Games Store, Good Old Games, Amazon Games, and Ubisoft. Right now it's via Heroic just because it's a trusted pathway, but these are going to be individual bottles that you're able to just load up into and have all of your logins and credentials saved. So we can see that loaded up back here and it's already logging in. Now the really cool thing about the login and authorization here is if you have experience with wine bottles, not the real kind, but the macOS kind, you're probably used to having to sign in to Steam on every bottle. You have to install your game to every bottle, and that takes up a ton of space. What I've done is the game library folder and the game saves folder is actually a symlink, and it's saved between all of the, or shared between all of the different bottles. So when you install a game, you can try it on all the different bottles, all the different configurations without actually taking up more space on your Mac, which is a pretty cool feature. We can see that Steam loaded here, and we can just go in and choose a random game to install. So let's just, why not, install that. And once that finishes installing, it will automatically show up in Bourbon. So you can try launching the game here, and usually it'll work because it uses the default bottle for Steam. However, if you go to the Games tab, it automatically populates all of the games in your libraries into this games list. You can see we just downloaded Age List, and here it is. So just like that, all of your game library is very well organized into the stack here. If you want to play a game, all you do is click. Now, you might notice that some of these aren't just Windows games. If you scroll down here, we actually have emulators now, so you can install Super Nintendo 2600 all the way up to these Switch emulators that are out now. So lots of cool stuff there. You can see that it grabs the metadata and images from Steam's API and from libretro or libretro. Now, not only do we have our games, but we have a new setting. If we go to the settings menu here and scroll down just slightly, we have Retina high DPI resizing, and we have MetalFX Upscaling. So if any games use D3D Metal or DXMT, you're going to be able to use upscaling natively on your GPU on your Mac. So even though you're not necessarily using the full GPU in the game itself, you can actually use your GPU to upscale what it sees and turn that 720p video into something closer to 1080p. If we go over to Android, we can see that we have a new Android subsystem, and this is fully hardware accelerated. So when you install it and run the tablet version, for example, the tablet is actually going to automatically size to your display's resolution. It will start as a windowed mode, so you can still run it as a window, but you can actually full screen and use it as if your Mac was a tablet. And because it has hardware acceleration, you can play all of those 3D games and things like that, which is really, really cool. And once this loads, I've actually got something else to show you in there. You'll notice that at first we get the default wallpaper here, but once we initialize, we get the nice Bourbon custom wallpaper, and we get a custom app. So you can go to the Play Store, and my mouse is dying on me. You can go to the Play Store, sign in and download any games or apps you want. And you can go to the Bourbon app here to choose a ton of customization options, not just the backgrounds and settings, of course, but if you scroll down, you can see we surfaced as much as we could for not only motion, so performance if you don't want the gyroscope always on, or you want to turn off animations so that it doesn't take so much CPU processing. You can change these as well, and you can change the device name and other fun stuff as well. So very cool stuff there in terms of just having a super quick Android device that you can just log into and play all of your games. So closing that down, we also have the desktop version of Android, the phone version of Android. So if there is a specific app you want to install that doesn't have a tablet version, and it doesn't allow you to use it on a tablet, you can install a phone version as well. If you want to use your Mac as a media center, you can actually start Google TV and use the full Google ecosystem there with all the apps like Netflix and things like that working as well. So that's a pretty fun one to play around with. I'm going to let that load in the background. So you can see it loads up with Google TV. You go through the setup process, you compare remotes, everything has full throughput, and it's really, really cool. So let's go ahead and close this out because you guys have all seen Google TV before. Some of the experimental ones, we have flip phones, foldables, and Automotive, which means you get the full CarPlay experience on your Mac, as well as the steering screen experience as well. So if you did hook everything in, you got a GPS receiver, you got all that stuff, you could technically use your Mac as a CarPlay device. So I don't know how feasible that is, but you get the full OS here if you want to play with it. Then we can go to emulators, and we have 3 front ends: RetroArch, OpenEmu, or Aries, or you can just use Bourbon on its own, because you can just scroll down here and choose which console you want to install. And every single one of these emulators is hardware accelerated and ARM based, so that you can play all of your games on Mac, not natively, but through really good emulation that's optimized for it. And you can see we have quite a few different options to choose from. You will need to provide your own files here for things like that. We don't do anything illegal or provide any illegal files, things like that. But it is, available. Everyone knows how to do it. You go to remote play, and we have actual remote play. So if you want to play a game like Call of Duty that has anti-cheat and just isn't possible on a Mac, you can just go in here and click play on Xbox Cloud, for example, and you're in. You can log into your account, access your entire library, and stream them natively. Not play them natively, but this is a native WebKit browser that's hardware accelerated. So you're going to get as good of a performance as you can through a cloud streaming situation. We have PlayStation Remote Play, which actually connects to your PlayStation in your home using Chiaki. We have GeForce Now, Amazon Luna, PC and Linux Remote Play, which uses Moonlight for Sunshine hosts. And we have Boostroid. Now, if we go to Windows apps, these are apps that a lot of people tend to install on their Mac that are Windows based. So you can go in here and get very specific business apps, for example, and install those and use them in Bourbon. And then, of course, the bottle shelf, where you can go through the different types of wine bottles. There's 20 available. Some of them are emulators, and some of them are actual custom bottles. For example, Double Barrel is made for modern DirectX games. And the cool thing is, if you rotate this, it actually tells you what that bottle is made of. So this is Wine Staging 11, VK D3D Proton, MoltenVK, eSync threading, and shared Steam library prefixes. Those are the ones we set up, and it'll tell you how many games are using that prefix as well. So this isn't just a fun visual, it is actually a very useful information source, so you can actually go through and find a bottle that works for you, and then when you click on it, it'll actually load Steam using that bottle directly. Now for the really fun stuff, let's go to experimental. So I already showed you Bourbon Android, but we can open macOS guests. So you can actually install older versions of macOS. So for example, I have 12.6 Monterey here. It very quickly loads up into Monterey, and this is hardware accelerated as well. So if you have some software that only works on older versions of Mac, you can do that if you want to. Now, we also have Windows 11 ARM in experimental. So if you are a user of Parallels Desktop, you might recognize this setup. So we're going to choose an ISO. I'll choose the Windows ISO and create a virtual machine. Now, the really cool thing about this is it's completely unattended, so it's going to get you through most of the install without you having to do anything except maybe press a key when it says, there's a CD, run the setup. But it's not going to ask you any of the normal setup questions. It's just going to get you up and running as quickly as possible, which I'll actually demonstrate here. So we have Bourbon Windows, and if I hit play, you can press any key, and it's immediately going through the setup. Now you'll notice I'm not actually pressing anything. It's doing everything automated on its own and unattended so that it can actually get set up for you and get you direct into the game and playing. The reason it's an experimental right now is it has very basic hardware acceleration. So it's closer to a software mode than a full GPU hardware accelerated mode. I am working on drivers. You might know me from the virtual display driver and virtual audio drivers on Windows. So I am hoping to make a driver that can provide some sort of GPU pass-through for Windows, similar to what Parallels Desktop does. For now, this is a really great way to just run Windows and use all of your, say, business apps or Windows software that doesn't necessarily require the latest and greatest graphics cards, because it is going to probably go through the CPU on your machine. And we're just going to let this finish up, and we'll be in Windows as quick as you can, I guess. And that's it. So without clicking anything, I finished the entire Windows setup and created a user account, got us logged in, and you can just start using Windows as soon as it's ready. Downloads all the updates and things like that. So let's give it a few minutes to run the automatic updates, and we'll see how it runs. Speaking of how it runs while it's loading, this is running on rebuilt UTM. So if you're familiar with UTM, it uses a similar base, and you can actually adjust all of the settings here. So it automatically adjusts based on your machine. So it says if you have an 8 gig Mac, it only gives it 4 gigs of RAM, or maybe 3. If you have a 16 gig Mac, it might give it 8. If you have a 24 gig, it gives it 10. It automatically adjusts the RAM and provisioning. But if you want to go in here and change it yourself, you can do that and tinker with it and give it a little more power. And that's a nice way to do it as well. All right, and it's loaded. So you're going to start seeing the apps update on their own. Yep, they're kind of picking up here. Let's see if another one picks up. Yep, they're all updating. So we can actually use Windows. It's pretty speedy. It's not GPU accelerated, but it is on a M chip, and that CPU is pretty strong. So it's still running Windows pretty well. Everything works just like you'd expect on a Windows machine. And yeah, so this is our attempt at reaching Parallels parity to some extent, and it will be improved upon later. So let's go ahead and close this out and show you one final thing. We have Bourbon Linux. This is a custom ARM Linux build, and it has Proton, Vex, GameScope, and virtual GPUs already built in, and it's still not quite in prime time. I need to get the GPU drivers all functional and shader models caching, but if I hit start, you'll see it starts booting. The Bourbon Linux pop-up goes really fast, and we're in SteamOS. So that is a really, really cool thing about this custom Linux build, is if we can get GPU acceleration running, you can actually go in here and install any game that would work on, say, a Steam Deck or a Steam console, Steam Box, what are they called? Anyway, if it plays on SteamOS, it will play on here, which is a really, really cool thing. It goes through all the updates. You can even update the virtual firmware, which is kind of wild, but it does work, and it gets you all the latest parts of SteamOS. It's currently going through the updates right now. And there we go. So let's click next, and we can log in and use it just like SteamOS. So I'm not actually going to do that because I'm recording using my phone, but there you go. This isn't quite ready. That's why it's in the experimental stage. But when Rosetta eventually does Moonlight, we will be able to continue playing games on Mac. We're going to be able to run SteamOS on Mac with GPU acceleration, hopefully, cross our fingers, and not even worry about Wine or any of those other components because we can just play it here. So let's go ahead and close this out now that I've shown you that, and try some games. Alright, so back at the games library here, we'll wait for it to propagate, and here's all of our games. Last time I showed you Eidolon, and I got some pushback because, well, Eidolon is technically a 2D game and it's not super intensive. So, okay, we'll play some other games. I'm going to show you a fun trick for a 3D game. Let's do Subnautica. You'll notice that it's called Homegrown. If I click on Subnautica, the Smart Plate profile is actually going to go through and see what bottle is best for it. And in this case, Subnautica actually has a Mac build in Steam. So it can download the completely native Mac build through your native Steam account on Mac and run it for you, and you'll get full hardware acceleration because it's built for Mac. So not only does this find the best way to run Windows games on Mac, but if there is a Mac version, it's going to automatically substitute that for you and let you play it. So let's go ahead and go through that. And we're in. So let's quit that. That's as easy as it is for native games. It automatically finds them. If you install it in a wine bottle, it'll actually uninstall it from the wine bottle, reinstall it to your native client, and play it from there as well. So it's not using any extra space. Palworld is one that a lot of people like to play, so let's go ahead and open that up. And you'll notice it automatically logs you out of your native Steam client before it logs you into the Wine one, so that you don't have to get kicked out of one and log in again. Here it's reusing your credentials for the new bottle. And then we can see that the window popped up and immediately went into full screen. And we're good to play. So Palworld loads up just fine. And now I want to show you one that I'm actually really proud of. So let's go ahead and stop everything. And we just got Overwatch working. So I know Overwatch didn't work on quite a few different community applications. Crossover's been fighting it for quite some time, since it came out basically. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just recently we got it working, so let's go ahead and load it up. I haven't done too much performance testing on it, but I can show you what it runs like by default on my machine and go from there. All right, and we can see a Overwatch icon down here, so let's click on that. It goes full screen, and this does take a minute or two to start up. There's a lot to load up in the shaders, so just give it some time and it'll pop up for you. You'll see the background for a minute or so. All right, so there it is. We have the sound, we have video. Let's go ahead and go to play. And it does work online. I'm just going to jump into arcade because I don't want to ruin anyone's game or anything. Let's go to practice range. It's probably going to start in 720p because that's the default for most games, but we'll see what it looks like. Yeah, loads up fine. Let's go ahead and continue. And now we can use our mouse. We can see that it's really smooth. When things load in, sometimes you'll get like a hitch or something, but it is really, really fast and runs. I feel like it runs great. Like I'm sure you can go to settings and change it up, get some better quality out of it. Let's see what it actually is set to. Let's go to options. Oh, it's set to 1920 by 1200, and you saw that it was running pretty well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. But yeah, that is Bourbon 26. There's a lot of stuff involved with this recent update, so I'm glad to be able to show it to you. And yeah, if you want to pick it up, I'll put a link to it in the description below. There is a 24-hour trial, so you can actually try it out and see if it works for you and if it plays the games you want to play, because of course we're still working through the list of compatibility titles and making sure everything works. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you have a good one. Peace.